The Great Stupa of Dharmakaya is one of the most significant examples of Tibetan Buddhist sacred architecture in the West. The 14-year construction project began in 1987 and involved more than 500 volunteers, skilled laborers, and artisans from around the world. The stupa is located in the Colorado Rockies at an altitude of 8,000 feet on the 600-acre campus of Shambhala Mountain Center. Founded in 1971 by Tibetan meditation master Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, it is a place where thousands of people attend residential, spiritual, and educational programs each year. The center provides an unparalleled environment for the exploration of the human experience through contemplative practice and study. Since the time of the historical Buddha, stupas have been pilgrimage sites for those wishing to connect to the Buddha's core teachings of peace, tolerance, and compassion. Like the great cathedrals of Europe, they were created using the divine symmetries of sacred architecture. There are many different styles of stupas, reflecting the architectural heritage of the cultures where Buddhism has flourished. Their veneration is an essential part of life in every country where Buddhism is taught and practiced. The Tibetan style was refined and standardized during the 18th and 19th centuries, when scholars developed a code of architectural proportions which codified stupa construction. The Great Stupa of Dharmakaya is unusual as visitors may actually enter its interior chambers housing extraordinary original artwork. Stupas are accessible to all, regardless of faith, nationality, gender, race, or social class. Visiting a stupa can provide a direct encounter with a living lineage of ancient wisdom. Historians place the time of the historical Buddha in the 6th century BC. Prince Siddhartha Gautama was born in India to a royal family and raised in wealth and splendor, unaware even of human mortality. On a foray outside the palace, he was shocked to discover the profundity of human suffering. He abandoned the trappings of luxury to contemplate the endless cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death. After many years of studying with various teachers, he wandered alone and sat beneath a tree next to a river in Bodh Gaya, northern India. After meditating for 49 days, the veils of his confusion were lifted, and he became liberated from suffering. Inspired to share what he had experienced, he gave his first teachings on the Four Noble Truths, which form the cornerstone of the Buddhist canon. He became one of the most influential spiritual figures of his time and devoted his life to instructing students and fostering communities of monks and lay people. Shortly before the Buddha passed away at age 80, he instructed his students to cremate his body and place the remains in a stupa.
When Shakyamuni Buddha died, his body was taken and cremated in the ancient Indian custom. And when his disciples went and looked in the ashes after the cremation, they found beautiful little ivory objects, which are called shariras, that were the remains, the things that were left over. They represent the distilled essence of that teacher's realization. So it's a rather different kind of understanding of physical matter than we have. In our culture, we think of matter and spirit as being separate. But in India, matter is actually an embodiment of spirit, and it can be something that you can have and hold and put in a certain place, and it will communicate the essence of that teacher.
The Great Stupa of Dharmakaya honors the life and work of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, the meditation master, scholar, author, and artist who spent his lifetime translating the ancient spiritual traditions of Tibet into modern terms accessible here in the West. Trungpa Rinpoche was born in 1939 in eastern Tibet, where he was trained as the supreme abbot of Suman Monastery and served as governor of the entire Suman district. In 1959, when the Chinese invaded, he led a large escape party out of Tibet. Traveling on foot, they crossed the Himalayas into India. He traveled to England to study at Oxford University in 1963 and became one of the first Tibetan lamas to teach in English. Invited to the United States in 1970, he eventually made Boulder, Colorado his home. For the rest of his life, he traveled nonstop and taught extensively, establishing more than 100 meditation centers in the United States, Canada, and Europe before he passed away on April 4th, 1987. His teachings in the West took place during a 17-year span encompassing one of the most tumultuous periods in America's history. At a time when many young people sought spiritual fulfillment, his eloquent and straightforward interpretation of the traditional Buddhist doctrine helped change the face of the nation's spiritual landscape. His books have sold more than 1 million copies and have been translated into 14 languages. Sakyong Mipam Rinpoche, Trungpa Rinpoche's son and heir, is the president of Shambhala International, a network of over 200 meditation centers in cities around the world and 7 rural retreat centers, including Shambhala Mountain Center. He has directed the Stupa project since construction began.
I think when people see the Stupa and when individuals come and they're wondering sort of how to relate to it, I think one of the most important things is that this is representing the notion of basic goodness and individual wisdom, and it's not representing something that's Tibetan or Asian and foreign.
The Buddha taught that all beings possess basic goodness. Understanding this, compassion and gentleness towards oneself and others naturally arises. In August of 2001, the Great Stupa of Dharmakaya was officially opened to the public following its formal consecration. Sakyong Mipam Rinpoche presided over the 10-day event, which brought together many of the most important teachers from all sects of Buddhism and several thousand Western students. The Great Stupa of Dharmakaya is 108 feet tall. White in color, its form symbolizes the Buddha, seated in the meditation posture on a throne. The top spire is his crown, the square at the spire's base, his head, the vase shape, his body, and the 4 steps of the lower terrace represent his legs. The site was chosen by the late 16th Gyalwang Karmapa, the supreme head of the Kagyu school of Tibetan Buddhism. The Venerable Benchen Tenga Rinpoche, the world's foremost authority on Tibetan stupa construction, has been the main advisor of the Stupa project. He presided over the initial design, visited the stupa to supervise progress, and oversaw the spiritual and construction details until its completion.
Namba mena yang tiri chetin sala ndrone tini te megen tongna tela gupa chemo togundu. Te koronga samla tini chuga bakcha dawo yagundu. Chetang tini chetin de songji ge yenting ge chugu ge rongzu de Chuku Ronzo de making Tonga Zange, Kola Namba Mena, Koronga, Samla, Chipo Yongendo, Tene Corona Tese, Partida Yona Tela, Pengendo, Tene Koronga, Senang Yapu Yongendo, Tene Mon Bala, Tesi Chula, Pacho Yapu.
The stupa was manufactured from a unique mix of concrete designed to last for 1,000 years and withstand the harsh climate of the elevated mountain site. Today, the stupa is one of only 4 building projects in the world using this concrete. The dramatic entry gates, situated in the 4 cardinal directions, architecturally distinguish this stupa from any other. The magnificent and colorful arches are intricately ornamented with traditional Tibetan symbols that took 4 years to research and apply. The construction of the vase shape, or bumpa, required an extraordinary amount of perseverance, ingenuity, and sheer luck. Cast during the severe winter months, it was extremely dangerous work, involving complex calculations and numerous concrete pours at dizzying heights. The fantastically detailed Gao surround found at the front of the bumpa symbolizes the open heart of the Buddha and is a unique feature of Tibetan stupas. Painted and gold-leafed, its refined tracery and jewel-like ornamentation forms an exquisite frame for the standing Buddha statue. The Sukshing, or life force pole, is the mind or energy aspect of the stupa and symbolizes the spine of the seated Buddha. Hewn from a majestic incense cedar, it is gilded with sacred texts and prayers written in Tibetan script. Significant relics have been placed into numerous sealed chambers embedded in the column. The Sukshing passes through the center of the upper part of the stupa, rising nearly 50 feet from the 3rd floor inner chamber to the tip of the golden spire. Forged from aluminum and covered in gold leaf, the brilliant crescent moon, sun, and jewel form the zenith of the stupa. The moon and sun symbolize the power of compassion and wisdom. The jewel, complete, perfect enlightenment. The Great Stupa of Dharmakaya preserves the endangered cultural heritage of Tibet. It is filled with original statues and murals embodying the brilliance of the many schools of Tibetan Buddhism. Much of the sacred art required creative techniques that are no longer employed or have been lost by the modern world. Extensive study and research was needed to maintain the quality and integrity of every aspect of the project. Nowhere was this more crucial than in the creation of the statues. Many authorities were consulted from Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan, and India. In the end, each statue manages to fuse its uniqueness of scale and style while remaining anchored in tradition. Perhaps the most stunning example of the dynamic tension between tradition and technology is evoked by the bronze standing Buddha located in the exterior niche of the 3rd floor. Sponsored by the world-renowned sculptor Seward Johnson, the piece was cast at the Johnson Atelier in Hamilton, New Jersey.
The statues that were destroyed by the Taliban in Afghanistan just seemed like one of the most horrible things of all the horrible things that are going on in the world today. It's always going to be more Buddhas made. There will always be this feeling. One religion cannot destroy another religion. They all represent man's trying to reach his best self.
The 2-year sculptural process began with a 15-inch model, which was scanned 3-dimensionally by computer and enlarged to 14 feet. It was then cast in pieces, welded and molded into perfection. On June 2, 2001, it was unveiled to public acclaim in New York City's Central Park.
Please come 2 at a time.
After the celebration, the statue was shipped to Colorado for final placement. While the gracefulness of the standing Buddha presides over the stupa's exterior, it is a massive 20-foot-tall seated Buddha which greets visitors entering the stupa's main hall. The statue was sculpted in the classic Gandharan style, which originated in Afghanistan and dates from around the 1st century. Its interior is filled with sacred texts and relics. Currently, the 2 upper chambers of the stupa are open for authorized students only. They contain expressive statues and murals that embody the imagery utilized in the practice of the highest teachings of Tibetan Buddhism. The 2nd floor is the palace of the meditation deities Chakrasamvara and Vajrayogini, who are archetypes of wisdom and compassion. The 3rd floor houses the statue of Vajrasattva and Vajratopa, embodying the purity of compassion. Built largely by Westerners, many people with different sources of inspiration came to be a part of the project. Over the years, the volunteer crews evolved from seasonal construction workers to artisans, sculptors, and finish carpenters.
It's just great working in the stupa. It feels good. And I think that instead of hard work, it's hard work. So that's why I work here in the stupa.
Keep coming.
It's a rare project and a unique opportunity to work for something besides yourself.
This building feels amazingly benevolent to me, and it's a sense of complete connection of earth and sky.
I'm really impressed with people's dedication because I know that a lot of the people on my crew are not getting paid, and they're here 16 hours a day.
I've been doing building for almost more than 30 years, and this is the strongest, most magnetic building I've ever worked on.
Trungpa Rinpoche was one of the most important people in my life. And so when it became possible for me to work on the stupa with work that I could actually do, which was part of the artwork as opposed to the construction work, I made sure that I could be part of that.
Yeah, it's great to be working with like a group of people and everybody, you know, having sort of this common sort of love for the stupa, and so it's great to have an experience of doing something that's really meaningful.
I don't think it relates to Trungpa Rinpoche. I think that it is Trungpa Rinpoche. This whole place has that that kind of energy that is just very much right in your face and keeps you on your toes and completely awake. It's also just day by day. You know, I get up in the morning and come to the stupa and see it and feel it and just come to work on it.
Key to the success of the project was the devotion of a core group of Chogyam Trungpa's senior students who set aside their worldly ambitions to see the project through to completion.
Here it goes again. Here's another whole field, a whole trade, a whole process, or a whole knowledge about materials that we just couldn't rely on advice from the experts. Like usually that's good enough, but we kept finding over and over again that it wasn't good enough for us, that we actually needed to know more.
More than they know.
Yeah, more than they know. We cared more about it than they cared, or than the world generally doesn't care about things beyond 50 years or 100 years. And 1,000 years, no, people don't even think in that kind of term of, span of time.
Something extraordinary and vibrant is going on. So.
Yeah.
Like, you just realize every once in a while you get hit by that, and you say, "This isn't mine, but I'm glad I'm here."
This project had evolved into something far grander than we had imagined or could have possibly imagined at the beginning, and it took on a life of its own. There was a certain point where you realized you weren't just defining this and putting it into your convenient time frame. It actually had to sort of unfold in a certain way, and it took a long time for me to surrender to that.
There's a lot of people that come every single year. They come from out of town and they'll come up and visit, and they're just delightful, and it's their stupa and they call it that.
I don't think people that are practicing Buddhists even have that much of an edge over anybody else. The stupa goes beyond that. And we see people making a connection with the stupa with absolutely no connection to Buddhism time and time again.
Today, the Great Stupa of Dharmakaya draws visitors from around the globe.
We've actually made shrine rooms inside of it.
Many will begin their visit by circumambulating the site in a clockwise direction. This ancient ritual dates from the time of the Buddha himself. Through this activity, one can connect to the harmony of the universe, which enables the mind and body to settle from the turbulence of daily life. As an architectural monument, it fuses the ancient tradition of Tibetan Buddhism with the most advanced technology available. It is an example of how devotion and the indestructible human spirit can imbue the hands of amateurs with the artistry of masters. It is a living legacy commemorating the great meditation master Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who dedicated his life to fostering the Buddha's teachings in the West. Finally, it is a beacon for people of all faiths, illuminating the way of compassion.